Madara Uchiha, the god of shinobi, one of the strongest characters to ever appear in the world of Naruto, and the biggest war in One Piece history, the War of the Best, otherwise known as Marineford. Considering Madara was arguably the most important character in Naruto's war arc, and his most infamous scene is him destroying an entire army. So, what better opponent than the most famous army in all of One Piece? Hello everyone, my name is Rocksty World, and I will be presenting this matchup today. Now, first off, we're going to be starting with the Admirals, or in other words, Marineford. Starting off with Marineford, the main objective of the Marines is to eliminate Ace with the public execution. We will go into the fact that the fodder is not really going to do much. They have 100,000 men, which is more than any army Madara has canonically faced before, but considering most of these characters have trouble like dodging bullets, and are baseline Marines with a power level of 10 confirmed in Eni's lobby, they do not matter. Madara will kill them in an instant. Just one of Madara's jutsu being sent is going to wipe out almost the entire group. This is not really a debate between the armies. This is a debate between Madara and their heavy hitters. And their heavy hitters in this instance are the Admirals. Akainu, possessing lava powers and having the highest offensive fruit, stated in a data book. Aokiji, having the power to control temperatures. And Kizaru, the man who can literally turn himself into light. Now, thanks to things like the data book and Vivre cards and other such items, everyone is basically the speed of light or can react to the speed of light, which is incredibly fast. And Kizaru is stated to be the fastest of the Admirals, which should put him above the speed of light, but by how much we don't really know. We also have a lot of statements, like a lot, based around the Admirals being able to destroy continents, and that is an upscale from people like Gecko Moria and Luffy, and multiple others who can destroy entire islands. But you could also upscale the Admirals once again by scaling them to Whitebeard, who was able to move tectonic plates. Akainu was able to stalemate Whitebeard and was able to clash with him on multiple occasions despite losing. And we know that if the Admirals fight one another, it would take them a substantial amount of time to put each other down, meaning their skills and power would have to be at least somewhat similar, which would put them in the multi-continental range, or basically the ability to wipe off multiple continents from the surface of the Earth. Then, we have things like Akainu being able to melt through anything according to data books. We have Aokiji being able to freeze massive chunks of ocean. And Kizaru, who is able to become almost intangible and fire off massive waves of lasers, or otherwise known as beams of light. The three Admirals are incredibly strong and have a crazy amount of hacks, but there's also two others who might be getting involved in this instance. I say might because Garp is an unknown factor, and depending on how he interacts with Madara, and since we're going with an in-character Garp, he's most likely not going to interact due to his connection with Ace and his internal conflict. But there is still a chance. Now, it is a completely different ballgame with the Warlords joining, but since we're talking about how characters interact in the way that is directly shown in the show, Mihawk, Boa, Kuma, and Doflamingo don't really care about the war at hand. They also have no interest in the war. The Marines obviously do, so this will actually negatively impact them, because if they're going to war with an emperor and only one man shows up who they've never seen before and have no interactions with, the likelihood of them actually fighting him, especially if they have no clue of this man, which, you know, once again, he would not. They would have no context of who Madara is. There is no incentive. And in some instances, you have people like Kuma and Boa who actively want the Marines to die, or Doflamingo who can switch sides and is an unknown factor. But with all these hounds, someone has to reel them in. And who better than the Golden Buddha, Sengoku. Now, Sengoku, while being relatively vague, does directly scale to the Admirals thanks to his position as Fleet Admiral. Plus, he has also shown the ability to stalemate Blackbeard, and while this was a Blackbeard with the Gorogoro no Mi, he just barely used it. So it's hard to gauge on whether or not it was to the full extent that Whitebeard had it. That's unlikely, but that should still put him in relative attack potency to the rest of the admirals. But, as I just stated, there's a lot of powerful opponents here. So, we need a really powerful man. And who better to deal with them than Madara? So, let's start talking about him. The main goal of Madara Uchiha in his offensive corner is to either take down all Marines or B, rescue Ace. Now it's time to get the scaling. And well, you see, Madara directly scales above the Raikage. Now the Raikage has been stated to move at the speed of light through the use of the Lariat, and you actually cannot perform the Lariat unless you move at the speed of light. But he was also able to react to a faster Raikage thanks to the other Kage performing the lightweight boulder jutsu on the Raikage, allowing him to move much faster. But by how much, we don't really know. So it obviously, once again, vaguely above the speed of light. Now this should put Madara in relative. You can either go either way as far as speed. However, neither character will be blitzing. This is due to the fact that in order to perception blitz someone, you need to move faster than they can see. The average human can see an object moving about 550 miles an hour, but the average speed of a human is 8 miles an hour. And the difference between those two is about 68.7. But if you use the highest speed known for a human, which is 27.5, it's only 20 times faster. However, this means Madara is not going to be perception blitzing them in this matchup. He will be moving faster than them most likely, but he is not going to perception blitz them. Now, going into power, and with power we have Madara being directly compared to the 9-tailed fox, the most powerful of the Biju, or the tailed beasts. Biju are able to shoot attacks that cause such big explosions you can directly see the curvature of the earth. Or, half of the 9-tailed fox was stated to turn the entire world to ash. This statement is not out of the realm of possibility, especially for tailed beasts. For example, the 10 tails had a chakra that was referred to as almost another planet, and since Madara directly scales to these characters and these tailed beasts, that would imply that he is at planet level. Just FYI, planet level is when a character can significantly disfigure a planet to the point where it does not remain a planet anymore. However, to get to planet level power, Madara needs to use his Susanoo. Which brings us to his hacks, and there's a lot of stuff Madara can do. And I'm not just going to name some because some of the stuff is kind of contentious, like for example, the Sage Art Light Fang. We don't know if he had that in 6 Path Sage mode or if it was a regular thing. So we're taking that off the table. He still has a lot of other stuff, so it doesn't really matter. For example, he has the Sharingan, which can hypnotize people and allow someone to keep track of things at an even higher speed than what they should normally be able to track. How do I tell you guys this? So, he might be able to reverse time thanks to the use of the Ninja Storm games. However, the cannon is very, very shaky, but Kishimoto never really said anything otherwise, and he never showed what Madara's Mangekyo Sharingan ability is, and with the unique abilities of the Mangekyo Sharingan, it is possible. There's also an even further upgraded version of the Sharingan. Not technically, but kind of. It's complicated, just like Madara's plans. The Renegon, which can, and has, removed people's souls, and can also lock people inside small planets. It can create push and pull fields that can block incoming attacks, it can absorb chakra, summon different animals. Oh, and I may have forgotten this, but he can also summon missiles and laser beams and blades. The amount of stuff you can do with just the Rinnegan is honestly so insane. I could spend an extra 16 minutes talking about it. Also, he might be able to heal himself. So yeah. Anyway, there's also Wood Release, which can produce extremely durable ways to protect yourself, and can give off plant life, which either A, absorbs chakra, or B, produces toxic gas, or just straight up grabs you and hits you like a truck. Oh, and this is an important fact, but using Wood Release, he can do this little thing called creating wood clones. He can at least make 20 of these wood clones, and each of these wood clones can use Susanoo. Granted, we don't know if it's the full armor, majestic attire, run for your life Susanoo, but we do know they can use full body Susanoo. Oh, and I guess speaking of clones again, if we go with a live Madara from right after his resurrection in the War Arc, he would be able to cast a Limbo, which are invisible doppelgangers that are just as strong as him and in another dimension. So yeah, that's just the weird stuff. It's crazy. Even his normal stuff. Hell, let's just go over his normal abilities. You know, just the normal ones you can find someone in Naruto. They're not one-of-a-kind, special, unique, crazy stuff. Okay, so he can control fire, lightning, wind, water, earth. Oh shoot, I almost forgot. Speaking of earth style, Madara can drop meteors, like just straight up meteors, and he can drop 2 of them in his Edo state. It's crazy. He has an insane arsenal, man. It's unreal. The only person who I think rivals Madara's arsenal is Kakashi. And Kakashi is stated to have over 1,000 jutsu. It's insane. But he is one man. And there's an army over there. So, obviously, when you have 2 cool things, being an army full of Logia-type devil fruits and people who can become magma, ice, light, and mystical Buddhas, and you have another man who can control all 5 nature elements, and they're looking at each other, you gotta make them fight. So, let's get into that. The fight. So the very beginning of this match, you would likely have Madara stare down the entire army, likely releasing a majestic destroyer flame, just to thin the herd, similar to what he did against the Shinobi Alliance. Now, this would obviously be intercepted by Akainu, Kizaru, Aokiji, any of them. But the likelihood of someone else stopping the attack, apart from the heavy hitters, is just unlikely. I stated before, I really doubt the Warlords give a crap, so they're probably not going to engage, but even if they do, the first one to engage is most likely going to be Kizaru. Due to the fact that Kizaru is stated to be the fastest of the Admirals, he would just get there first. And he would attack Madara. Now, the likelihood of him hitting Madara is unlikely because I've shown before, he is much faster and crazy arsenal, and most likely even faster than Kizaru. Not to the point where he's blitzing him or anything, but now it's important to make a statement on if Madara is able to interact with these Logia Devil Fruits since, well, he's already closed the gap. Now, the Rinnegan has the ability, thanks to the human path, to suck out people's souls. Now, Haki is referred to as spiritual energy. However, it doesn't seem likely to be directly connected to the soul. It seems to more occupy its own area. We know this because characters like Big Mom and Brook have powers that are directly affect the souls. They are clearly different from how Haki is portrayed in the series, especially considering the fact that Brook can manipulate his own soul, thanks to his Devil Fruit, but he does not in fact have Haki. So, that basically means soul and Haki are completely different things, so the likelihood of the Admirals being able to resist anything is highly unlikely. Now, Madara would be able to pull out their souls. We've only seen one example of someone being able to resist that, though, and that was Naruto. And if Naruto were in the One Piece universe, he would have much stronger willpower than I think most other characters, let alone the Admirals. Now, none of the admirals have confirmed Conqueror's Haki. The only person in the Marines who has confirmed Conqueror's Haki is Sengoku. You can argue that characters like Akainu and Garp would have Conqueror's Haki, but as it is not confirmed, I'm not giving them the edge. They have no proof. Obviously, after seeing this, this would lead to Akainu and Aokiji understanding that Madara is a serious threat and that he needs to be taken down very quickly. Otherwise, more bodies are going to hit the floor, and most likely the warlords will engage with him after this display of power. However, they will not be fighting with any real interest in this whatsoever, especially since, as I stated before, Boa, people like Moria, want to see Marines getting killed for their own personal benefit. They really don't care. The only ones who are likely going to have any sort of drive to engage are people like Mihawk and maybe Don Flamingo. But then again, there's also a chance that Don Flamingo just changes sides. Also, Madara has Genjutsu. We know that it is an advanced level Genjutsu, thanks to the Raikage and being instantly one-tapped temporarily by it, but it is someone who has resistance to Genjutsu, so the likelihood of it working on someone who doesn't have any resistance to Genjutsu and has no idea what Genjutsu is, was, or ever will be, the likelihood of it working is pretty insane. So the Genjutsu would stun them, or even in the best case scenario, completely hypnotize them, which would not be good for anyone. Now, do I think that he gets through all the admirals? Well, that depends on what version. I'm using the Madara from the 4th Shinobi World War. This Madara is actually even stronger than the one we saw in the Valley of the End, and he also is stronger than his Edo model. This is backed up by these statements from Hashirama saying he's regained his former strength, and he was able to take on multiple tailed beasts with his 2 Renegon on, and at Hashirama Sage mode, he was planning to take on Obito, who actually massively upscales from these characters like KCM2 Naruto. However, Madara does also have another trick up his sleeve, which is Limbo. Oh boy, Limbo. Limbo. Now, Limbo clones are very interesting because they are in parallel pocket dimensions, which allow them to interact with the world, and the world to interact with them. However, they are not visible, nor can be telegraphed by any means necessary, except for 6-path Sage mode, which the Admirals do not have. So, they might be able to block it another way, thanks to Future Sight, which would be necessary, and it's hard to guess where the attack is coming from, and even if they know where it's coming from, the idea of just getting socked in the face and being told that 5 seconds in advance doesn't necessarily mean you know where. Like, you might be able to predict, oh, since I fell that way, it must have came from that way, but there's nothing to perceive. There's nothing to see. There is nothing. So there would be an incredible amount of pressure put on the Admirals. Plus, Madara still has wood clones, and 20 more Madara fighting alongside normal Madara, plus the Limbo clone? Oh, it's nuts. Listen, I love the Admirals. The Admirals are crazy strong. Marineford, honestly, it's insane. But the amount of pressure that would be put on from Madara and all these other things, I think would just be too much. It would ultimately lead to their downfall. And if I had to give it a difficulty ranking, I would say that Madara defeats all the Admirals and saves Ace 7 out of 10 times. However, if Ace actually dies, I do not see any reason why Madara would hold back. I would most likely completely cremate all of Marineford. But that's my opinion. In conclusion, it makes sense that the God of Shinobi would be able to defeat the Marines. After all, it is a god that is going to bring them down. Now, this is a little bit of a controversial topic, considering a lot of people really do say that One Piece is extremely strong, like to the point where Naruto characters are completely irrelevant. However, I hope that this cleared up a little bit and gave you a different perspective. And who knows, maybe someone else will come along and debunk this video. Maybe that someone will be you. But you can never really know if you don't comment. So, I would like to hear your comments, I would like to hear your opinions about this video, and I would like to hear how much you hate me for saying all this stuff. I'll see you guys later. Have a wonderful day. Happy 100th video anniversary. And peace out. I'll see you guys later.